Hello everybody, welcome to Bitcoin Not Crypto. You can find me on Twitter X at Forest Total and on Nostr through my NPub in the description. I'm gonna just tell you guys a little bit about the zombie zone right now. Eric Semler from Semler Scientific has kind of coined this term, but before we've heard zombie companies, and these are companies that are basically staying in line with inflation. They don't have any growth prospects. They might have some cash on hand. They've probably underperformed a lot of other companies, and they really need something to kickstart their business back up. And this was the case for perhaps Semler Scientific, although they might have a little bit of medical device growth in their future. But it was definitely the case for MicroStrategy at the time of Bitcoin adoption on a corporate level. Eric has this fantastic tweet here about the zombie zone. His first target for the zombie zone is Zoom. Now, everybody knows Zoom. Zoom was a COVID darling because everybody thought we were going to work from home all forever. And for some reason, pay for Zoom communications when you can use Google Meets for free. But yeah, of course, that was not the case. And people have... people have dumped this stock. So it reached an all-time high. It kind of had a blow off top and then has come down in price like crazy. Zoom looks like a meme coin, basically. It looks like a giant pump and dump. You know, it kind of launched at the right time just before COVID and had this spike all the way up to this wick here at 587 roughly, or 588, and has since absolutely completely collapsed down to a price of $84.95. It's really too bad if you were buying around these tops. You know, there was probably people thinking that these dips are, buy the dip opportunities. And of course, they had a little relief rally or dead cat bounce perhaps, and then all the way down, falling knife, all the way down to this accumulation zone where they've had positive earnings. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not going to look too much into this company because Eric has already done the job here. So let's take a look here. He says, dismal stock performance. Shares have plunged 40% over the last 3 years, underperforming the S&P by 73% over the last 5 years, and Zoom has lagged the S&P by 84%. Depressed valuation, trading at just 15 times forward earnings and 9 times forward EBITDA. This stock looks cheap for a reason. And that's because there is no growth prospects, because this idea of Zoom sort of having a monopoly or a moat or sort of anything unique in this space is, probably not there. So massive cash reserves sitting on a $7.7 billion cash pile, nearly 1/3 of its $25 billion market cap. Idle capital with no clear purpose. So this capital is probably in short-term treasury bonds, and those have a negative real rate of return. So they're losing capital for their shareholders by holding it in just cash or cash equivalents. And 7.7 billion is a huge amount, 1/3 of its market cap. I mean, this is insane, right? So, you can talk about the MNAV of MSTR, right? Well, the MNAV, there is roughly at around 2. The MNAV of Zoom is at 3. Sluggish revenue growth, guiding for low single-digit top-line growth, signaling stagnation. So single-digit top-line growth is unbelievably bad because we can have times where monetary debasement is double-digit, and we just don't have the metrics to really measure that totally clear, but that's entirely possible, and this is going to barely outgrow or possibly not even outgrow just monetary debasement. So it's really, really a bad outlook for Zoom right here. So here we go. Strong profitability, boasting 40% EBITDA margins, and generated $500 million or $458 million of cash in the last quarter alone. So because this is a software as a service company, they're not growing much because, like I said, probably the competition, right? But they are profitable, 40% EBITDA margins, because software as a service, it doesn't require, there's probably a sales force behind there trying to sell that, but it doesn't require a ton of updates. It doesn't require a lot of CapEx. So there's a lot of cash generation here, which of course could go into something like Bitcoin. So once a pandemic darling, Zoom is now stuck in a highly competitive, slow growth market. The video conferencing company has struggled to find a second act to reignite momentum despite aggressive reinvestment and acquisition attempts. So it looks like here, and I don't have all these details, but it looks like they've reinvested some of their money back into their business. They've tried to acquire other businesses to grow. Usually acquisitions are actually not good in the short or medium term. Most times, even in the long term, acquisitions of other companies are dilutive to shareholders and to the price. There's exceptions, of course. Instagram for Facebook and YouTube for Google. Like, of course, there's exceptions where there's some good acquisitions, but it looks like Zoom has not had the opportunity to have a good acquisition. So Eric here says, by leveraging its $7.7 billion cash pile, $2 billion in annualized free cash flow, and ready access to low-cost debt, Zoom could rapidly become one of the largest corporate holders of Bitcoin. Now, there are a lot of companies where this is where they're in a similar state as this. They have cash, they have free cash flow. Now, what's interesting here is this last paragraph that Eric says and why it's different with Zoom. So Eric S. Yuan, Zoom's founder and CEO, retains tight control via super voting shares. With this power, he could adopt a Bitcoin treasury strategy. He has not publicly expressed his views on BTC, but the opportunity is there to unlock transformative returns for shareholders. Zoom should seize it. So this last point here is very key and very important. This is why Microsoft didn't buy Bitcoin. I mean, there was other reasons as well. They don't need to, really. You can kind of see the case for them needing something. They need to buy growth off the shelf. They've tried reinvesting into their business to no avail. They've tried acquisition attempts but again, it hasn't worked. They need growth. And Bitcoin has a compound annual growth rate of above 50% for the last 10 years annualized. And we've seen absolutely crazy gains from Bitcoin and Bitcoin treasury companies, right? And it will increase the volatility of the stock, allowing them to do convertible bonds or have more option market, which will increase the price of the stock. And they could just buy Bitcoin straight out with their annualized free cash flow and the cash reserve they have. And what makes Meta an interesting case is that Zuckerberg has, the majority of the voting rights as well. What allowed Strategy to buy Bitcoin was that Saylor had the vast majority of the voting shares. And I believe it's the same even with Semler, Eric Semler being the son of the founder. I think he has the vast majority of the voting rights as well, although I don't have the details on hand here. But this is a really important key piece because you actually don't need to get your board members on board. You don't need to, convince shareholders to vote with you if you wanted to adopt something like Bitcoin as part of your treasury. And we can see that Zoom really needs this. And if they meet with Semler here, or if they meet with Saylor, if they look at what Saylor has done, what Metaplanet has done, what Semler's done, what it has done for their share price, that alone might be a really easy decision for the founder and CEO to make. They might just say, "This is it. This is the solution to our stagnant company." Right? This isn't a company that's necessarily dying. I think that it could die over a long period of time because they could just maybe not be, they could not figure out where else to go after this. If this becomes even more competitive or something replaces it, maybe they're not fast enough to catch on to it. But if they buy Bitcoin now and that Bitcoin rises in price, that gives them opportunity in the future. So I think that this is a really great case here. And this is almost seems like the new mission of Eric Semler here, where he's replied back to this person here who has made the case for Berkshire Hathaway to become a Bitcoin treasury company as well. And of course, that's kind of funny looking at, you know, some of the comments that Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett have made about Bitcoin. They're very close to the money printer. I think that's very unlikely. He's even commented here on GameStop adopting and investing in crypto, Bitcoin in particular. He says, it's not a zombie, but it would be great to have them in the club. Now, that's kind of interesting. I think they kind of are a bit of a zombie company. I think they've been able to survive basically from the shareholder interest from retail. And they've been able to acquire a bunch of cash, which has led them to be able to sustain themselves and to invest and try to get themselves out of the dying business that they're in. I would actually say they are a zombie. I'd be curious to know why he doesn't think they are a zombie. But this is definitely another, there's another case for GameStop to be able to buy Bitcoin and become a Bitcoin strategy company. This is something that we're going to see more of. We're going to see more Bitcoin adoption by corporations because of game theory, because of no other choice, because of people recognizing that Bitcoin is opting out of central banks being able to debase the currency that they're holding and saving in. And it's just a much better option, of course, for anybody, as we've all begun to figure out as individuals that watch this channel. And if you haven't gotten off zero, or if you're interested in what I use to buy Bitcoin, I use Bitcoin Well. It's a non-custodial exchange. They have the lowest spread and no fees for Canada and the US. They also have some KYC free options available, or non-KYC options. And if you use my code is Bitcoinnotcrypto, or you can click on the link in the description, you'll actually get yourself some free Bitcoin. There's not much free Bitcoin out there anymore, so I would seize that opportunity if I were you. And of course, it goes to support this channel. You can also secure your seed phrase in the best possible way, in my opinion, which is with Stampseed. I have a code as well that gets you 15% off of their kit, which is BTC not crypto 15. And they make a titanium seed plate with this really great anvil system for stamping your seed in really well. And it's titanium, so it's fireproof, rust proof, and it's compact and small, and you could hide it anywhere you needed to. And they have all sorts of different options for seed phrase preserving on their website. So check them out. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Love to hear what companies you think would be great Bitcoin treasury companies that are zombies right now. And we'll see in the future if any of them end up adopting Bitcoin, which I think they probably will. So we'll see you on the next one. Thanks everyone.